Kia ora. Good evening, everyone. We are here together once more for Allan Kardec Spirits Group of New Zealand on this lovely Wednesday evening, a nice and warm evening, I may say, for me, potentially only. Good evening, everyone who are here as well. Good evening, the online folks. For news today, we have once again our Festa Junina, which we translated as winter
Brazilian winter party.
Brazilian winter party, a middle of June party, right?
Yeah.
And we would like to remind everyone that the pre-sales are on, and the ticket is $5, and that door sales will be $10. We highly recommend you to get your ticket now, as every year we don't actually have door sales anymore due to the high demand and the limited amount of tickets that we have. We'd like to remind you guys that the date will be the 19th of June from midday to 5 p.m. It's an alcohol-free event and it's cash only, no FPOS. But also would like to remind us that there are many FPOS and cash out places around, such as a petrol station, the mall. So if you do forget about it, don't worry, the plan B will be right there. It will be at the Brazilian Cafe, Otera Valley in Albany, yeah. And yeah, please join us. It will be a great way to celebrate and also raise some great value for our group. Anything else for tonight? No?
No.
All right.
No further news at the moment.
Let's go to Lead Spring then, number 16 tonight. All right. It's a very, very good message, by the way. Living Spring, item 16. Be not troubled. I found that the very commandment that was intended to bring life actually brought death. Paul, Romans 17?
Romans, I think.
Yeah.
Not so sure.
If we were to ask the grain of wheat its opinion about the meal, it would, of course, say that the meal is a place of pure torment. Nonetheless, that is where the grain is transformed into the glory of the bread that feeds the world. If we were to ask a piece of wood for its opinion about the soul, it would say that is the cruel tool that dilacerates its entrails. Even so, thanks to this supposed torture, the wood becomes refined and useful for noble purposes. If we were to ask the stone about the burial, it would certainly explain that is an abominable persecutor of its peace of mind, wounding it day and night. However, is due to this action that the stone is raised to the status of being one of earth's polished and gleaming treasures. So it's with the soul. So it is this with the struggle. If we were to question people about the flesh, they would reply with 1,000 absurdities. If we were to listen to them speak about suffering, we would hear old nonsense. If we were to ask them to say something about their problems, they would shed bitter tears. Nevertheless, it is imperative to realize that from the body that has been disciplined by a terrible obstacle and purifying suffering, the spirit always re-emerges more beautified, more robust, and more enlightened for immortality. Great. Now I would like to ask Alcione to do our prayer, please. Yeah.
Dear God, the creator of this beautiful universe, our creator, Jesus, our master, our friend, spiritual, spiritual guides that help us, that are here with us tonight. Would you like to say thank you for allowing us to be here, that we can make the most of this opportunity of learning, that we can leave our hearts and minds open to observe, to understand, and to internalize the teachings of tonight. That we can keep this place harmonic with positive feelings and vibrations. So would you like to ask permission to start another Alan Connect meeting? Thank you. So be it.
Thank you. All right. So tonight we're studying the Gospel, chapter 24, item 5, and we are continuing studying from a couple weeks ago. As last week we have a very lovely lecture, which is also available to be watched on our social channels. So please have a look at it. It was really good from
Yeah.
Sergio
Spiritism.
about medicine and spirituality.
Yeah.
Very, very rich
Portuguese.
subject. And yes, it is in Portuguese.
Mhm.
Great. So we are studying the chapter called Do Not Hide Your Lamp Under a Bushel. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And yeah, we are-
that one. Mhm.
Yep, item 5. And from last week, we have studied a little bit from the meaning of the lamp under a bushel, right? Where the lamp actually represents our spirituality and the good that we can do, or the charity, or the love. And we should not hide there. We should not leave there without use. We should elevate that lamp so it can bring light to all around. We also talk about why Jesus talks in parables. And we discussed that one of the reasons why he talks in parables is to help those who do not yet have elevated morals and understanding. So his idea was to reach everyone. So to reach all those around him that could not understand. And of course, to make them think, make them use their potential and process things more, right? They And we also talk about people who hear but do not understand, or who have eyes but cannot see, who are blind for the teachings and the ways that Christ has showed us. That unfortunately is a large amount of people. Um, what else? Anyone else remember anything?
Mhm. Not really.
We talk about the bushel being faith grows weak when you compare the bushels with the things that can block your faith, your spirituality, such as pride, jealousy, anger, hate, envy. That back to the comparison, it could be the bushel, right? Covering up your your spirituality, your opportunity to do good, right? Anything else you remember?
I think as we read, we probably will be
Correct.
reminded of parts of it, eh?
Right. Anyone would like to start reading?
I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll read out of the book, eh?
Okay.
Do you wanna just?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So number 5. Therefore, if In its prudent wisdom, providence does not reveal truths except gradually. It always reveals them to the degree that humankind matures enough to receive them. Providence holds them in reserve and not under a bushel. However, for the most part, the individuals who do possess them hide them from the common folk in order to control them. These are the ones who truly put the light under the bushel. That is why all religions have had mysteries, whose questioning they have proscribed. However, whereas these religions lagged behind, science and intelligence have advanced and torn away the veil of mystery. Having entered adulthood, the common folk wanted to grasp the basis of things and therefore rejected from their faith what was contrary to observation. There can be no absolute mysteries, and Jesus is correct when he states that there is nothing secret that must not become known. Everything that is hidden will be revealed one day, and whatever people cannot yet comprehend on the earth will be subsequently revealed to them on more advanced worlds, and when they have become purified. Down on these worlds, they are still in the fog. Keep reading or pause?
We can probably comment just a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
I just want to try to see if I can zoom. I don't know if it works, but I'll just press it.
Yeah, you can, but then it doesn't show the whole page.
No.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
fine.
Or would you like to comment a little bit about it?
Sure, sure. Yeah, it's interesting how it talks, how the knowledge may be used to, as a power. I mean, knowledge is power, and many times in the past, we could say probably even nowadays, it can be used to control, to give power. So that's why saying that those that had the knowledge would many times try to hide, because by doing that, they would have um, control under other people that they could get control, the common folk, as it says here, right? Um, but Jesus said that there is no mystery, so everything in the universe has an explanation. Everything happens for a reason. So whatever people say may be a miracle or maybe not possible, it's just because we don't know the explanation yet. We don't have sometimes the vocabulary, we don't have the knowledge yet to understand, but everything in the universe has an explanation. We just don't know yet. And nowadays, it's probably a bit easier to get to the knowledge because the access is more available for not everybody, but for most people. So out of curiosity, people can go and search, make their own decisions, but in the past that was much harder. And but either way, the knowledge, or as Togun was saying, our virtues that we have, we everything that our potential, we should never hide. We should actually use it and put in good use rather than just try to hide it. I think that's it for me for now.
Um, Yeah. Give.
Any questions?
Um, it's just as we've been talking about parables and ways of understanding. I think this item 5 brings exactly what Son says. Um, we do not need the mysteries anymore. We do not need to hide knowledge. We do not need to hide the understanding. As of course, if you think about it, probably has happened in the past where some sort of church or priest or people did not want people to think. They did not. They just wanted them to obey and obey the men, not actually Jesus' laws, right?
Yeah.
And that, of course, the intention of that was not to elevate the morals or intellectual. It was to control them, was to make them obey in a way where they would not actually progress in life. They would just remain poor and remain uneducated and remain with very bad habits and extremely bad morals, of course. So it's interesting that here, even that he talks in parables, does not mean he's trying to hide something. It's actually completely the other way around. He's helping them to learn. He's helping them to grow and stimulate their way of thinking so they can go and find the answers, right? He could give, when you think about it, I think he could give information straight away. Jesus could just say something literally the way it is, but it wouldn't reach as many people, right? It wouldn't reach everyone. If he used a certain, let's say, a higher level of terminology or morals, it would potentially just reach those who have a little bit more higher intellectual, not necessarily a good one, but higher intellectual. And yeah, so I think the way he talks in parables is a way for everyone to understand. It's a language that everyone can interpret, everyone can understand, and apply to your own life. So I think, as he mentioned here, and having entered the adulthood, the common folks want to grasp the basic of things and therefore reject from their faith what was contrary to observation. So again, it will become a time in a near future, we hope so, where everything will just become one, right? And we won't need these barriers and mysteries that's being put by labels or by religion or etc. When we're all gonna have the same agreement because it will just make sense. It will just be known as secret, right? Cool. Do you wanna read it, please?
Yes, sure. Number 6. One might ask what advantage the common folk could have derived from this multitude of parables, whose meaning remained hidden to them. It should be noted that Jesus did not express himself in parables, except regarding certain abstract parts of his doctrine. But having made charity and humility towards one's neighbors the express condition for salvation, everything he said in this regard is perfectly clear, implicit, and ambiguous. And it had to be this way because it was the rule of conduct, a rule that everyone had to understand in order to observe. It was what was essential for the ignorant multitudes, to whom he limits himself to stating, "This is what you must do in order to gain the kingdom of heaven." Regarding the other parts, he revealed his thought only to his disciples, since they were more advanced morally and intellectually. Jesus could initiate them in more abstract truths. Thus he said, "To those who already have, even more will be given." Nonetheless, even with the disciples, he remained reticent regarding many points, the complete knowledge of which was reserved for later times. These points were what gave way to such diverse interpretations until science on one hand and Spiritism on the other came to reveal the new laws of nature, thereby rendering their true meaning comprehensively. Spiritism has to shed light on a multitude of obscure points. However, it does not shed it indiscriminately. Oh, sorry, it's a long word. The spirits proceed in their teachings and admirable prudence. Only, only successively and gradually have they brought the very subject of the doctrine, and it does that the others will be revealed to the degree that the time comes for bringing them out of the darkness. If they had presented the doctrine completely at the start, it would have been accessible only to a small number. Moreover, it would have alarmed those who were not yet prepared, which would have harmed its spread. Thus, if spirits have not yet said everything ostensibly, it is not because there are mysteries in the doctrine reserved only for the privileged, or because they have placed the lamp under the bushel, but because each thing must arrive at the appropriate time. The spirits allow each idea time to mature and spread before they present another, and for events to prepare its acceptance.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, so initially it's asking what was the advantage for the common folk or for people to listen to the parables if they could not understand everything, if it would be something for them to interpret and try to understand. But the main message of Jesus is implicit and is very clear in the parables about so Jesus made charity and humility towards our neighbors. That's the condition for salvation. So that is the main thing that his message relay in his parables. So even though can be hard to even nowadays, even sometimes for us to understand every single bit of all the parables, the main message is really about charity and humility. So if we, and even if we understand that, it's hard to practice in our daily lives, isn't it? So we shouldn't be too worried about sometimes not getting all the details or fully understand everything. Of course, we gotta do our best because the more we learn, the easier it will be for us to practice those very important principles. But charity and humility would be really the main part. And also here explains how everything has the right time to come. Because, for instance, if Jesus starts talking more straightforward or a little bit more complex issues, it would not be understood by the people of that time. And even nowadays, then we have spiritism that clarifies more, brings more details, is not understood by everybody. It's only understood by a few people that either are ready for this understanding or can benefit from that understanding. So every knowledge has a right time to come. Everything comes in the right time, and what we should do is try our best to understand and to apply, which is the hard part, it's the hardest part. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Tanya, any questions?
Tanya, learning.
No, it's okay. Is that clear? Like what's okay?
Yeah, I would say that the way he teaches, he taught, it's not only clear, but it's durable across the years.
Mhm.
So it's possible to understand it in more than in 1,000 years from now.
Yeah.
The same way we understand now, and the same way it could be understood 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's possible to the fact they use parables make it clear to be understood for different cultures because their parables always involves common things,
Mhm.
day-by-day
Yeah.
situations. So
Yeah, nice. Yeah, there's always analogies on that, right?
yeah,
People can just compare no matter what culture they have. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like you guys already comment. Um, I guess it's about us elevate our limp, right? Ourselves being our best. On this item 6, um, it does mention what we already talked about it, being able to use parables to reach every level of moral and intellectual as possible. He also, at the very end, he says, he mentions, to those who already have, even more will be given. And it has a reference to chapter 18, item 15. which is actually a very interesting item that we had studied not long ago, actually. And a spirit friend talks how we will hear, but we will have ears, but we couldn't hear, and we couldn't understand, and we'll have eyes to see, but we will not perceive anything. We'll not be able to move further. And then the spirit friend mentions that humanity is blind and deaf, and it tells us to open our minds, to open our hearts, because like you guys mentioned, those teachings have been given to us 2,000 years ago. There should be plenty of time for us to understand. There should be plenty of time for us to interpret it in a good way. Instead, misunderstanding the objective of being good. He also mentions the rest of the parable, the little piece where it says, "From him who has not, sorry, from him who has nothing, or who has little, it shall be taken away." So those parables, those phrases are in reference for people who actually do not have good morals, who are, an example, materialist people, who actually think they have a lot, but they actually don't have anything, because all they have it's earthly value. It's something that will not help you evolve your spirit. So when they say, "From him who has nothing and who has little, it shall be taken away," it refers to those people who actually do not have anything. They think they do, but they just have a bunch of things, a bunch of material things, which, like we say in Brazil, your money will not be buried here, right? They actually say in the Greek culture, a good death, it's when you don't leave any money behind. A good will, it's when you read and there's no money left.
Yeah.
And then you know that person did good. Because they spent their money, they did good, they helped others, they did what they had to do. I mean, I hope they used the money wisely.
Yeah.
But they didn't do the greedy part of keeping everything for, just for the sake of having it. So when they say those who already have, even more will be given, he refers for those of good heart, for those people that actually help others, and they have a lot. They are the pure of heart people. They are the ones who will receive more, will continue evolving in life, continue evolving in the moral and intellectuals, right? Such as the disciples, where obviously Jesus gave them message a little bit more clear because they already spent some time with him and had a bit elevated morals and intellectual. They could understand things in a different way. On the item 7, it's talked about the multitudes of obscure points, where again it's us elevating the lamp, and just like life in general, we learn things. The knowledge was not always being given to you fully, right? If you think about it, when you were a child or when you were a kid and you're in school, you're not going to have a PhD professor trying to teach you quantum physics, right? It's a step by step. It wouldn't make sense. You will just not listen. And that applies the same for your morals and your intellectual. If you have someone who potentially is struggling a lot or do not believe in anything, don't go pushing down the throat. You're gonna reincarnate. Da, da, da. It's a baby steps. It's potentially the way for help is actually going easy. Is going slow. As we all go through childhood, teenage, adult life, the knowledge should be the same. Otherwise, we're just trying to run when we don't even know how to walk.
Yeah.
Right? Cool. Anything else?
Just quick comment.
Yes, please.
Jesus, disciple,
Yeah. Disciples, yeah.
as disciple,
Tomato, tomatoes.
he asked Jesus why Jesus talk these people like parables.
Yeah.
And I like this part here. He answered, and it had to be this way because it was the rule of conduct.
Yeah.
A rule that everyone had to understand in order to observe. That was essential for the ignorant multitudes to whom he limited himself to stating, this is what you must do in order to gain the kingdom of heaven. And I read this here in the study group hundreds times. Now I understood.
Yeah.
Yes, it's really interesting. I never read the Bible, but always was thinking, why? Even said here, why Jesus spoke by parables. And it's very clear, it makes sense,
Yeah.
because most of people that time, they weren't ready yet, you know?
It's just like talking to kids, right?
Yeah.
You don't go and explain something really complex to a kid. You do analogies, you assimilation, you trying to explain with teddy bears, and so they get the message, right? So if you think about it, he was not just teaching us, but he was looking after us and using the appropriate language, appropriate terminology for that time, for that moment, for the time and place.
It's amazing how Jesus thinking was thought about all different kinds of intelligent people, or non-many, or no, it's difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Interesting. So his love, because he's the thought about all the ignorance, all the non-knowledges, and he were about.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a beautiful.
It's like you're doing a big speech, right? Imagine you're talking to 1,000 of people about a subject that you understand a lot. And imagine that between among this 1,000 people, there are doctors, and they will understand if you speak highly, you know. But you think about it, would you try to reach the 1,000 people or just those few? So that's why you say it very simple. And they may be bored because they have to hear something again and again and again. But that's not the point. The point is trying to reach as many people as you can. So that's why the teachings are actually very simple. So no matter how much knowledge you have, you can just read and think about it. They are nouns. They are things that we understand. Look at this. This is a lamp and a bushel, which is 16. And it's very simple to understand. If you put on top of the lamp, the light goes away. It doesn't have oxygen. It doesn't bring light. It's like covering a lamp that we have it right now. Why is it open? Because we want the light to spread around the room and cover darkness. And if you think about knowledge, that's what we're trying to do. Spiritism is the lamp, and the darkness is the lack of knowledge, the lack of morals. The higher you put the lamp, the more you're going to reach. So it's exactly the same. Imagine the light being the parables and the knowledge that he's passing to people. So that's why it's up high and it's easier so everyone can understand and see it. But imagine if you have a knowledge now and you don't tell anyone. Oh, I'm not going to tell anyone that they shouldn't kill people. I'm not going to tell anyone. What's the point? There goes a lamp that's hidden. So the power is there. The potential to bring lights to the whole room is there, but then you go and cover. It's useless. What is the point of having knowledge if you're not sharing? What is the point of being able to do good if you decide not to? What is the point of having incarnation if you just sit on a couch and just see the day goes by and don't do nothing? There you go. You have a light, you just cover it. We always have to remember, like Andrea always says, you're going to be blamed by all the bad things you did, the good things you did, and also the times you could do good, but you didn't do it. The times they did nothing. Because we have time, and it is a good moment for us to reflect to ourselves what we could do to help others, right? Majority of time, we think there is a point in life that we're going to reach, and then we can help people. How many times have you guys heard someone say, oh, if I win the lotto, the first thing I'm going to do is help a charity? You can help right now. You know what you have to do? You go there and ask them, is that something you can do? They will say, yeah, can you mop the floor? There you go. You're doing good.
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, I'm gonna buy food for the whole world. Yeah, that's doing good, but it's no measure, right? It's not you doing super good. It's just one word, you're doing good. You go help someone, you go help yourself. That is doing good. You know, don't wait for you to win the lotto, which you have very low chances, and then you think about doing good. Or maybe you doesn't connect tomorrow, and there you go. You know what I mean? If you have the knowledge, you have the power to do it. If all of you know that you can do good, you can do it right now, in this very second, right?
Thank you.
Right. It's 7:51.
One more, or
Yeah, maybe we read.
8, 9?
Yeah, 8 and 9.
8 and 9. Okay.
Cool.
Do not go to the Gentiles. Jesus sent out his 12, the disciples, after he had given them the following instructions. Do not go to the Gentiles, and do not enter the cities of the Samaritans. Instead, go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And whenever you go, preach, saying that the kingdom of heaven is near. Matthew 10, 5, 7. In many circumstances, Jesus shows that his signs are not limited to the Jewish people, but they encompass all humankind. Therefore, if he told his disciples not to go to the pagans, it was not that he disdained converting them, which would have been uncharitable, but because the Jews who believed in the fullness of God and awaited the Messiah has been prepared by the law of Moses and the prophets to receive his word. Among the pagans were even the days of lacking. Everything needed to be done, and the disciples were not yet sufficiently enlightened for such a weighty task. That's why he told them, go to the lost sheep of Israel. That is, go and sow on ground that has been, that has already been prepared, knowing that the conversion of the Gentiles will come in its own time. Later, in fact, the apostles would plant the cross right in the midst of paganism. Should we do the 10 because then we finish that part, or what do you think?
Yeah.
I think so. Okay, it's not too long. Okay. These words may be applied to the followers and propagators of Spiritism. Systematic disbelievers, obstinate scoffers, and self-centered adversaries are to them what the Gentiles were to the disciples. Thus, in following their example, they first seek to make converts among persons of goodwill, those who desire the light, in whom a fertile seed may be found, and whose numbers are great, without wasting their time on those who refuse to see or hear, and who the more importance is attached to their conversion, and all the more obstinate out of pride. It is worth more to open the eyes of 100 blind persons who desire to see clearly than one person who takes pleasure in darkness, because doing so increases a greater proportion the number of those who will support the cause. Leaving the others alone is not indifference, but good policy. Their time will come when they are persuaded by general opinion, or when they hear the same thing constantly repeated around them. Then they will believe they have accepted the idea voluntarily and by themselves, and not due to the pressure of someone else. Furthermore, the same thing applies to ideas as applies to seeds. They cannot germinate before the right season and only in prepared soil. That's why it is better to wait for the propitious time and to first cultivate those that germinate, thus avoiding aborting the others by pushing them too hard. In the time of Jesus, and as consequence of the narrow-minded and materialistic ideas of those days, everything was circumscribed and localized. The house of Israel was a small nation. The Gentiles were small nations surrounding it. Today, ideas are universalized and spiritualized. The new light is not a privilege of any one nation. There are no barriers to it. It shines everywhere, and all humans are brothers and sisters. Moreover, the Gentiles are no longer a people, but an opinion that is found everywhere and over which the truth triumphs little by little, just as Christianity triumphs over paganism. They are no longer combated with weapons of war, but with the power of an idea.
Nice, thank you.
Welcome. Yeah, I think in that time the message from Jesus was for the disciple to try to um, distribute that light or make that light shine, especially in those that were open to the ideas, especially in those that were already willing to listen, already willing to see. Because it would be a waste of time to try to shine that light on those that had exactly the opposite ideas, like the pagans. They didn't believe in the unique God yet, they believed in many gods, and would cause more harm and would cause more fights and disagreements because they had this firm belief, contrary to Christianity. But even nowadays, even Spiritism also tell us that we should not try to force or impose or convince anybody. So if someone asks us about Spiritism, of course, we are going to explain, ask about reincarnation or any of the principles, very important for us to know very well so we can also shine that light and help. So always willing. But just because someone had ideas which are contrary to ours, we should not. It's not charitable to try to force or convince or bring that light to people that are not interested at the moment. Sometimes they have other ideas, and maybe it's their choice as well. So we gotta be respectful. And but we always around us will be people that want that light, and we should share it. So I was a little bit over the place.
No, it's amazing. It's good.
Yeah, I think that's it for now.
Nice. Thank you. Anything from you?
Any questions that we may be able to answer?
Enlighten 10. These words may be applied to the followers and propagators of Spiritism,
Mm-hmm.
systematic disbelievers, obstinate scoffers, I don't know what's this word, and self-centered adversaries are to them what the Gentiles were to disciples.
Yeah.
They say also the followers of Spiritism, we are the followers, right, of Spiritism. So in that same sense, we should not be forcing and going to those that are not interested at the moment or have different ideas. Everybody has different ways of learning, and their way might be different from our ones. So, but we should focus on those that are more open to it at the moment.
When they use the word Gentiles, they they was trying to relate it of people not from Israel, not Christians, not the Hebrews, not people who are following Christ. So they are talking about people who believe in something else that is not the teachings of Christ. That's what they use the word Gentiles. They wrongly do it. They believe in something else, and they firmly think they are correct. So it's basically telling, don't waste time with them. Guilherme, you want to make a comment? No? So, yeah, so that's what they have in mind. The disciples, they were not fully prepared, they didn't have all the answers. They were also learning. You know, they've been with Jesus not for long, for a few years. Of course, the reason why they've been selected because they already been with Jesus potentially before and had some more evolved spirit and open minded to it. So he explains to them, don't go waste time with these people that they just want to fight, right? We have people like that these days. You cannot help someone who doesn't want to be helped, right? And you cannot help someone who does not understand that your intention is good. The intention is not to convert anyone, right? Is this great story that I remember from Chico, where this very nice lady, she comes to Chico and says, Chico, my husband is amazing. He's a really good husband. He does a lot of good things. He helped me a lot. He's had a very good heart. He only has one problem. And then Chico asks, what is the problem? And she says, he's not spiritist. He does not believe in spiritism. And then Chico look at her and say, does he do good? She said, yes. Does he do charity? She said, yes. He said, he does not need to be spiritist. He's already doing what he has to do. That's fine. He's already helping others. He's already helping the collective growth of everyone. The title is not important. If he's doing good, great. And that's what we're trying to say. We're not saying this is the truth, we're gonna follow. That's what the Gentiles are pushing on others, right? They try to force it. We just open with open hearts, showing the people that it's good to do good, you know. So that's where they telling the apostles not to waste their time with someone that does not want to learn, that does not want to do good. They want to believe in the material. They want to believe in all those misguided beliefs that happened during that time and actually happens today. Because if you think about it, the amount of effort you would have to spend to actually change someone's mind and then showing them the right, those people, they will look at you and say, prove it to me. Prove it to me that it's real. Da, da, da. That's what they're going to force. So it's just like a child, you know, a little spoiled one. So you just leave it. That's when the time comes, they'll be ready. Maybe some event will happen on their life. Usually they happen and it's not a very fortunate event. It's a very strong trial of expiation, and the person will open their mind for more. And they will understand that the way of their thinking is not sustainable to find the answers that they need through life. That actually through love and charity, that's where you're gonna find things. And then he mentions there about the seed, right? About believing on it. Just this little seed. So, like we just mentioned before, one of those parables, he would say that to many people. And maybe those people will go away, will travel, but the seed was there. You plant. So that reflects a lot on what we do every day, right? When someone is grumpy to you, just say good morning. Smile to it. That's a little seed. You left it in. Maybe it's not going to germinate today, but maybe tomorrow will. Maybe one day a person is suddenly going to wake up and go, oh wow, there is a lot of good around me. And there you go. That's going to grow. Believe it. We put the seed, and Jesus controls the time, right? And when the time comes to grow, the seed will grow. We don't have to worry about it. If you put a little seed in the ground, no matter how much you scream, the seed will grow and the seed has to grow. You can only put enough water, not too much, not too little. Otherwise, you're gonna damage it. Just put enough, and you just believe. You just leave time to do what it has to do, right? Cool. Anything else, anyone? No? Well, that's us.
Can you check this line for 11, please?
I can check it. What do I do? Just go back.
Just go next one, because we need 11.
Ah,
Next slide, and then go X.
it's
Yeah, S. Yeah.
007.
Thank you. Perfect.
All right.
And I can go to the, well, I think I can go the remotes.
Oh, I can go.
Or you can go, yeah.
I practice.
So, Spirits Book, chapter 9.
Question
Question.
one more. Spirit book. Part 2, chapter 9.
Yes, and it's like 24.
24. Great. and we are studying about the spirit intervention in incarnated words. We're actually a little bit ahead on this chapter. We have looked into the influence of spirits in the actions, the prohibit human thoughts. Actually, we have a talk about it, how the spirits constantly influence us and influence the way we think. Sometimes even more than we think. Sometimes it's a fully yeah, it's a fully spirit wish actually. We talk about bad thoughts and how they will contain very bad influence on you, and how the spirit is always listening to what we think, right? And how we should be very aware of the way we pursue of thinking, because that will come first than everything else, right? We study how the bad spirits or the less evolved spirits, how whatever you want to call, they can influence on our lives. And the way for us to block that is by just elevating our morals, our intellectual, by elevating ourselves, by losing the connection with the lower vibration spirits, by increase our vibration, by elevating our vibration through prayer, through good actions, right? If you don't speak the language, they're not gonna connect with you anymore. If you just do good, they're not gonna waste their time because they know don't have no influence on you, right? So they'll just go away. We talk about also this part about controlling influence, how a spirit does not actually enter a body, how the possession, how we see in the movies are actually very different than the reality of it. The spirit can influence you really strongly if you are really weak. Again, if your vibration is really low to a point where a spirit can actually influence way more on you, but it will not be possible for another spirit to take over your incarnated body that has been assigned to you, right? But they can strongly influence. Yeah, anything else that you guys remember?
Yeah, I think it's a very important point that we put there. We definitely receive influence from spirits, could be positive or negative depending on our vibration level, but it's important to point it out that our free will, so regardless of influence we have, is always our responsibility, is always our choices, because sometimes when we may sometimes want to blame the spirit, so it was a bad spirit that came to me, that's why I did that, it's not my fault. So it's always our responsibility. And it's our responsibility then, as we are aware, as we have this knowledge, to watch our thoughts, watch our feelings, be aware of ourselves, because that's how we can manage the influence. And having more positive than negative will make our life easier rather than having more negative. But we are all learning, it's practicing every day, it's about self-knowledge. And but yeah, that's saying orar e vigiar, so pray and be aware and watch what's going on around us is very valid for us. So that's what I think it's important to remember.
He also, now we're gonna start to talk a little bit about the influence. Again, he did a really important reminder is how you block of having this influence, or how you protect yourself, we may say, it's by actually just doing good. It's actually very, very easy. By not opening the door, channeling, not putting your vibration so low that you make a room for them to connect with you, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
477.
And the bad spirits, I think the book is called In Good and Bad, so we use the terminology. The bad spirits have a lot of fun by annoying us. They do. They have a lot of fun.
Our patience,
When we do rituals to,
Yeah.
exorcise the spirit, they have a lot of fun. They just laugh at it. They're like, you just wasting your time.
Yeah.
One little prayer could do the thing, but you go very far for it. Right. Question 477. Anyone like to read?
I can read.
Yes, please.
Are exorcism formulas and are effective against evil spirits? And the answer is no. When these spirits see anyone who takes such formulas seriously, they laugh and persevere.
Just what I say.
Nice. Yeah. 478.
Then,
478. There are persons animated by good intentions who are nevertheless possessed. What are the best means for them to free themselves from obsession spirits? Tired the purchase. Pay no attention to their suggestions and show them that they are wasting their time. Then when they see that they can do nothing, they will withdraw. It's really interesting. It's a lot about just a tiny small thoughts,
Yeah.
good or evil, just that we open
The connection. Yeah.
connection for, it's very interesting.
Cool.
Mm.
479.
yeah, sure. Is prayer an effective means for curing obsession? Prayer is a powerful aid in everything, but you must realize that it is insufficient to simply mutter a few words to obtain what you desire. God helps those who act, not those who limit themselves merely to ask. Therefore, obsessive persons must do their part in order to destroy in themselves the cause that attracts bad spirits.
Nice. So yeah, just like we talked here, the bad spirits have pretty much nothing to do. And when they see the room, when they see the opportunity, they take it, right? So it comes from a very simple occasion where someone can cut you off when you're driving and you have the urge of exploding and chanting a lot of not very good words, and there you go. That they have room for them to help you, help you or doing a bad thing. Or can even, we actually can be very sophisticated. The evil spirits can influence you, your ego, your pride, for you to be jealous, for you to think you are better than someone, for you to feel good. Not necessarily just for you to swear or feel bad, but it can help your ego, can give that little boost, can make you do things, or even fun. How many, the drinking, the drugs, the whatever, people feel good when they do that. So that could be influence of them, of course. The influence does not come from nowhere. It has to have, it starts with you. So it doesn't come from nowhere. And I think one interesting thing that I mentioned, you mentioned here is, tire their patience. Don't pay attention to them.
Yeah.
When a bad thing comes in your mind, laugh, make fun of it. When I used to, sometimes it still happens. When I'm studying, I mentioned that the last time that I was talking to my mom about it. Usually when I'm studying, my mind gets distracted and I start to think about, I don't know, random things, bad things sometimes. And I always take a note of what I was thinking. And after I finish my study or my prayer, I'll take it back to that subject because I think I'm weak on that subject. So there is something that I have to think about in my life. That is a way for me to fix that. So I use the bad influence on a good way. So the spirits are trying to put it in my mind something that I'm weak.
Yeah.
I take a note because now I know something I have to work on and improve. And I'm pretty sure they don't like that. They're just helping us to be better.
They gave you a tip.
So pay attention. If there is a certain subject that always annoys you, it's something that you should think about it. It's something that you should improve. So use them in your own benefit, right?
Good tip. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that always comes in my mind very randomly is situations when I'm about to go talk to someone. Sometimes in my mind comes like I'm fighting with that person. Let's say that person answers me, man, what am I gonna say? And then I'm gonna fight back, and then I start to make fun. In my mind, I just imagine the person dressed up in a funny costume, and then I laugh, and then the fog goes away. So it's those little habits that you do it. You know, the good habits, the good morals, one day they will be disciplined. I think Ilan mentioned that a couple weeks ago. So have discipline. Do baby steps. When something bad happens, just always do an act of good on top of it. And then they'll dissipate. They will start to go away. And then you're gonna have elevated morals that have been a discipline. Put a little plan in place and you're gonna help yourself. Like wake up every morning and do a prayer of gratitude. I do my prayers in the morning, and I usually have to stop the prayer and look out the window and say, oh, it's raining today, okay. Thanks for the rain. Thanks for all the benefits that the rain will bring, the life, and that's how you do it, right? Fool yourself of good things, right? Cool. Should we?
This word here in
Yeah.
479.
Obsession? A phrase?
No, simply mutter.
Mutter.
Mutter. What is it?
Simply say, I think matter is more like,
Murmurar.
yeah,
Ah, it's obrigado.
Yeah, it's doing right? Mumbling.
saying without the sentiment.
Without the
saying
meaning.
Without,
Yeah.
feeling.
The prayer.
Yeah, if you just go, thanks for today, thank you.
Automatic.
That doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It's why we always do spontaneous prayers, right? Why it comes from your heart. It's how you feel it. That's why sometimes the prayer always different. It's about you closing your eyes, thinking about it, and just expressing it.
It's not a memorized.
No, you know, nothing wrong with the memorize as long as you listen to the words, right?
Yeah.
As long as you put meaning to it.
Feel the words as well.
Yeah.
Shall we read the last? There is one more to close that topic.
Is that the 480?
Yes, that's the last.
Okay, 480. What should be thought about the expulsion of demons spoken in the gospel? That depends on interpretation. If you mean by demon an evil spirit who subjects an individual, who subjugates an individual, when its influence is destroyed, it will truly be expelled. If you attribute an willness to a demon, when you have cured the sickness, you will also have expelled the demon. I think it may be true or false according to the meaning given to the word. The greatest truths may seem absurd when only the form is observed, and when allegory is taken for reality. Understand this well and try to remember it because it is of a universal application. So it talks here about using the word demon, right? I was possessed by a demon and the demon was expelled. This is one way of you saying it. You can also say, I was feeling bad, I prayed, now I feel good. So it's giving you the correlation. If by demon, by evil, you mean an influence of a less evolved spirit, then so be it. Then if you want to use that way, use it.
Yeah.
But the words, the meaning will be the same, right? So that's why it's telling us it's a universal application. The understanding should be the same. If you want to use like that, or if you want to talk about bunnies, evil bunnies and good bunnies, the meaning will still be the same, right? Yeah. It's a little bit of parable in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's really good because I think all this conversation we had today, it reminds us a lot about the living spring, right? Where we do have the pain, we do have this very hard moment, we have to improve our morals and intellectual, and sometimes get really tough. And if you ask someone to describe how you feel right now in this world of trial and expiations, they say, oh, this is horrible, I suffer a lot, right? That's how they're gonna, like the wood or the wheat we explained before turns into beautiful bread or a beautiful house, right? So it's for us to remember that the faith is there. I guess we can lose this living spring every day, actually. No matter how hard it is, just have faith.
Yeah.
It's a day after tomorrow, right?
We'll get strong on the other way of
Yeah.
learning. Every suffering always brings learning, so we can learn from it, or we can just complain. And if we just complain and don't learn anything, then we gotta do everything all over again. So it's our choice, right?
Correct. We are better than yesterday.
What's this like? This?
Any other comments, guys? Tanya,
The first two sentences,
What question?
480,
yeah?
just the beginning answer. That depends on interpretation. If
Yeah.
you mean by demon and evil spirit, who subjugates an individual, then when its influence is destroyed at the time. But here, if you mean by demons and evil spirits, who subjugates an individual, what does it mean here? How are they going to be free of that evil spirit? And they say, if you mean by demon and evil spirit, who subjugates an individual?
Yes, subjugates is to influence heavily an individual, right? So, because the question is, what should be taught about the expulsion of demons spoken of Jesus' gospel? So that depends on the interpretation. If you mean by demon of the bad, so they comparing the demon. So I think it means what Togun was saying. In Spiritism, we don't believe there are demons, as some religions say demons are demons and they'll be forever evil and be forever in hell. So we believe spirits will be imperfect sometimes, they will be bad, as it says here, doing bad things. In that case, if we want to call demons, it's okay. But of course, it's just a phase, it's not going to be forever.
And they are not necessarily bad guys,
Mhm.
but they may be, they may be someone that we cause trouble in the past,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
they are here to remind us.
We were the demons before, right?
Yeah.
We were the demons if we're gonna use by subject and view, yeah.
Yeah, even nowadays we see in the gospel bad, the word is bad, but we always
Yeah.
interpret as imperfect or learning, not bad in that sense, but it's just to describe it.
Yeah. It's a brother or sister in a different level
Yeah.
of more intellectual. We still have to love them and forgive them for what they do because they just don't know how bad it is, right? Cool? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now become this lovely time where we do our collective vibration.
Vibration.
And I'll just find some calm pictures and put a nice music.
Beautiful music.
We didn't have any comments, so it's good. So sit back and relax, and I'll see when you will take over.
Thank you. Let's sit down in a comfortable position. Relax our bodies. And we can allow this song to involve us in vibrations of peace and love. Let's use these moments to reunite our thoughts, our best feelings, and together let's vibrate to those in need. To start with, we can visualize our beautiful planet Earth, our school that brings us lessons every single day. Let's involve the Earth with fluids of peace, of harmony, bringing our energy to all the nations, the ones that are suffering the most with conflict, war. Let's then remember and take our love, our kindness, and consolation to those that are sick, maybe physically, mentally, those that are facing trials of the sickness at the moment. Let's take our consolation and remind them that suffering is temporary and that they can get out of the situation even stronger. Let's also vibrate to those that are maybe living on the streets without a shelter, sometimes even without foods. Let's bring to them lots of faith, fruits of courage and hope that they can believe in a better day, in a better future. Remembering also those that passed away and still not sure of what's going on. Remind them that our lives are made of faith and new beginnings, and they will be helped, and they will adjust to a new reality which is full of challenge, but also full of blessings. Let's then remember those that are closer to us in this life, people from our family. Let's take to them all our kindness, generosity, our strength. Doesn't matter if they are far away, whatever they are, let's take then our best fluids to them. Let's also vibrate to people from our social life, could be from our work, or the places that we go. And using this opportunity to mentalize, to visualize someone or a group of people that's going through bigger challenges, difficult moments. Let's involve them in fluids of love, fluids of courage, that they can overcome their challenge and become much stronger comparing to when they start that. Let's be open to also receive all these positive fluids that are here with us tonight. Open our hearts, open our minds, and be open to all these blessings. And now I'll pass it on to Togon for the final prayer.
Brothers and sisters, let's elevate our vibration to Jesus, our Master, to God, and say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity of being here once again. Thank you to the mentors of this group, to the guides, for letting us conclude one more Allan Kardec Spirit Group of New Zealand meeting and studies. We thank you, all of you brothers and sisters, incarnate or disincarnate, for being here today, for sharing your knowledge, for doing your learnings, and for being with us now and always. So be it.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being watching us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, money.